So we're going to move on to chapter 26, and we're going to be talking about Baroque instruments a little bit more, and particularly some instrumental music, something called the Baroque Suite, and that's some dance music in a particular form. And then also we're going to look at an orchestral piece composed by Handel. Okay, so Baroque instruments, we talked about them going through refining during this time period. They were more clearly tuned, and there was also a shift towards more focus on instruments and instrumental music. We had seen that kind of coming up out of dance music, but there were more and more opportunities for instrumental music, and it was really encouraged by wealthy patrons. They really wanted that, and so it's kind of the collaboration between craftspeople and musicians that helped to bring this instrumental music to full fruition due to the development of these instruments and the fine tuning of them. And so a lot of the Baroque large scale genres are going to feature instruments, not just going to be a cappella anymore. And remember that everything about the Baroque is about really showing off extravagance and grandeur. And so the elaborate instrumental music fits right in with that. Special occasions, and the one you're going to hear in this chapter, really signify the importance of the occasion by the types of instruments and the type of music you're hearing. Some of the major improvements to instruments, they started making strings out of gut, and so the strings became softer, therefore having a more penetrating sound. It really changed the sound of the string instruments like the violin and the viola, etc. Some of the famous Northern Italy string instrument makers, you may have heard of a Stradivarius, very famous type of violin named after Stradivarius, the one who made it, Guarneri and Amati. Woodwinds were all made out of wood. Imagine that. And they began to have a more expanded range, so they were able to play a wide range of notes. And the color of them was more lending itself to pastoral scenes, suggesting that in the music. Brass, they were considered natural instruments, so they didn't have valves at this point. The French horn, you know what that looks like, the modern day one, that had a very hunt-like sound. Trumpets had a very bright sound, and all of the brass players would really have to be well trained in virtuoso type playing. There's been a recent interest in late in trying to develop or recreate the Baroque instruments as they were styled then, because obviously they've gone through some transitions in the last few centuries. Here's a picture or painting of an outdoor concert in almost the mid 1700s. Just giving you an idea of what the orchestra might look like on the stage. First of all, you're having an outdoor concert, which means it's open to more people. That gives you an idea of society. Second of all, look at the variety of instruments. In the center, you've got the harpsichord, you've got string players, you see percussion, you see woodwinds, you see trumpets, all gathering around. So it gives you an idea of the different tone colors that are coming out of an orchestra. All right, so let's quickly look at the Baroque Suite. The Baroque Suite is simply just a group of short dances. Dances are typically what would be played just by instruments, okay? Each dance has a certain form that it follows. Remember, they would have certain dance steps to go to each of these. So they were really particular in their form or in their sound. And so a suite is just a gathering of several different short dances, but you put them all in the same musical key. Remember, we talked about the major and minor scales, and that determined the key that it was in. So if you put them all in the same key, collected them together, that became a suite. And they contrasted moods within the suite. So you might have many different types of instruments that would have played these dances. It wasn't just one particular group of instruments. It could change depending on what you had available. But there were some definite international influences. You might have some with a German flair or a French flair, Spanish or English. So they really got their flair from the type of dance that it was and where it became popular. Sometimes you had an overture that started the dance suite, which was kind of stood alone. The typical form would have been binary or ternary. Binary meaning two parts, ternary meaning three. If you can see how that's written out, binary would be the repeat of an A section, repeat of a B section. The A section and the B section would be contrasting. So you've got a home key. The main key of the piece is A. Then you go to a contrasting key. You go in the ternary, you'd go back to the home key. Okay. The binary, it would just be A section repeated, B section repeated. Might be written for solo instruments, chamber ensembles, orchestra, etc. The piece you're going to listen to is from Handel's Water Music. This was written, music for the royal fireworks was written for a royal party that was held outdoors on the Thames River. And interestingly enough, its first performance, they had planned for fireworks at the end, and things caught on fire. So it was quite a lively first performance of these fireworks. But you will hear these lively rhythms, the catchy melodies, and the grandeur of the piece that Handel wrote. You can almost hear the stateliness in it as you listen to it. Here's a neat picture of the Thames River. You can kind of see this collection. May have been similar to what that water music party was when Handel wrote it. All right, so take a listen. Use your listening guide. It's going to be a suite in D major. And 1717 was its first performance. You'll see what to listen for here. Some ascending lines with leaps and trills. Listen for some triple meter. Listen for that ternary or ABA form. And listen how the instrument groups exchange different music ideas. Thank you.